What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I want to talk to you on SoFi. I want to go over some of the current data points, some expectations for this upcoming week, and where I see things going from here. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So based on Friday, it did go down 2.38%. For the week, it went down 14.27%. And that had to do with more of a broader pullback on the technicals, as well as a strategically placed negative analyst rating, in my opinion. But once again, I feel like SoFi's technicals somewhat held up because there was a lot of anticipation that it was going to touch and break below that 790 range. And I think the low for the week was $8.16. So that's kind of a positive. We'll just have to see exactly how that plays out next week. But I think next week there's going to be a lot of volatility because as far as data points, there's two things to watch for. Well, I guess throughout the week, there's a lot of Fed speakers, one in particular. So on Wednesday, Williams. So in reality, I feel like that's going to cause a lot of volatility because typically from what I've looked back on his previous speeches, he's more of a doom and gloom kind of situation. Be like, no, we are not cutting rates anytime soon. Don't bring that up. That's just my, obviously, interpretation, of course, but I feel like he might say the exact same thing, and the broader market is very much wanting to hear sooner rather than later, not necessarily like, no, we're going to wait and see or some other crap. So that one might potentially cause some volatility. And then aside from that, the next day is going to be good old CPI. So CPI has been mixed, and I feel like a lot of people and analysts at the same time are going to be really looking at CPI data to dictate, in their heads at least, when the Feds are going to be starting to cut rates. And potentially that might be the green light for the broader market to continue to rally. So once again, those are some of the points that might cause some volatility within SoFi and the broader market. And specific to SoFi, they did recently announce their actual earnings. So that is going to be on January the 29th. And we already do know, typically 2 weeks prior to any of SoFi's earnings, with exception of their most recent one, so their Q3, there's always been a rally leading up to their earnings, and pretty much every single time there is a sell-off, regardless of the results. So you can kind of anticipate that is going to happen as well. So whether the FOMO rally starts as a result of maybe positive CPI data and continues up until their earnings on the 29th, we'll just have to sit tight and wait. I just really hope that this upcoming earnings, with being profitable and everything else under their belt, it doesn't have a sell-off as a result. So let me know your thoughts on that. So most likely those are some of the points that's going to really affect SoFi. And still, regardless though, those technicals are still holding true. So 790 is going to be that next strong support. You can kind of tell that right here. So 794 is going to be that S1. So as it stands with a 822, it is trading between this S1 and the pivot. So 920 is going to be that next strong resistance, and 794 is going to be that next strong support. So that's something to kind of watch for, at least in the short term. As far as shorts though, they are going to be very stagnant and kind of neutral up until CPI. If there is any sign of negativity from CPI, you are going to see shorts jump like hyenas all over the market, including SoFi. So just kind of anticipate that. But 64,000 shares were increased on Friday, but 13.75% of the free float is being currently shorted. Utilization is 28.34, and right now 122.93 million shares overall are being shorted. As I've said in the past, I just want to make it very clear, I'm not saying SoFi is a squeeze play. I'm just bringing this up as a benchmark, and because these individuals clearly are anticipating SoFi to go down. So it's good to analyze exactly what they do and what they're thinking. As far as options, $5.06 million in calls being purchased versus 2.89 million in puts. But sentiment wise, 47% of all the options on Friday was bearish, so not necessarily the most optimistic. Looking at call options for next week, it is anticipated for it to be above 850, and that's based on the call options. Looking at puts, it is anticipated to be sub 750, so more of a continuation of the downtrend that it is on. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think it's more realistic that's going to be below 750, or do you think that there's going to be more FOMO, CPI positive, and causing technicals to go up? What do you think is coming based on all of that? But like I've pointed out to you in the past, based on the Elliott wave, if it does manage to get a nice bump up and gets over the pivot point of $8.83, then it is going to continue, in theory, its nice previous rally and potentially touch anywhere from 1141 to 1194 in the short term. So that's kind of optimistic. We just have to wait and see whether SoFi does hold. But based on Friday, nobody was really buying SoFi. A lot of transactions that did occur on the secondary markets, and pretty substantial ones, such as 6.82, 1.08, but based on the bid, the ask, and the selling price, none of these were buys. Well, except for maybe the first one. So once again, that's kind of not a good thing overall though. So as it stands, I think right now it's just going to be CPI, so Wednesday, Thursday. The first couple of days is probably just going to be stagnant, a lot of volatility, especially looking at the fib levels. They are very wide, so there's going to be a lot of volatility. You just have to be very comfortable with that. But I feel like that's going to be the case Monday, Tuesday, and potentially even Wednesday. A lot of companies are going to be starting to unveil their earnings. I believe Tilray is on Tuesday morning. A lot of big banks as well Friday before they open. So I believe Bank of America, Citi, and some other ones. So that as well is going to dictate and hopefully cause SoFi to go up a little bit higher. SoFi does have significantly greater margins and just growth aspect to SoFi. So it's not really comparable to brick and mortar, but again, that's what Wall Street does. Aside from all that and my ranting, let me know your thoughts. I actually do feel that SoFi is going to get back into the 9s. I don't feel like it's actually going to have enough to get above this 920 unless CPI is absolutely epic and it shows massive slowing on that front, which as a result, the Feds might cut rates sooner rather than later, and then the market will be having the green light to run up. So in my opinion, I feel like it's going to be between about the 880 range to 920, but that's just me, not a financial advisor. You guys always do your own due diligence. Of course, that price prediction could go very much wrong. If CPI is negative, then I would most likely say it would be kind of mid to low 7s. So kind of opposite extremes. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. Hopefully everyone had an amazing weekend, but let's make a lot of money on whatever floats your boat, whatever you're investing in next week.